very cool conversation with Olli, one of our clients in a BBA program. The guy is phenomenal. We just had a conversation briefly before this. Very positive person. And I want to ask Olli kind of like how his e-commerce journey has went so far. Oli just shared with me he got to like $1,500 a week with his e-commerce business, and before that, you mentioned you've launched several stores. It didn't work, so I want to kind of like learn more about that process, kind of like what changed for you, what were the biggest mindset shifts, and also just like on from a tactical standpoint, what things have changed for you that allowed you to have that traction. And yeah, man, thank you so much for joining me.
That's all right, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, man. Cool. Yeah, and by the way, Ollie's in Australia, which is like midnight for him right now, pretty much. So thank you so much for making the time.
No problem, man.
Cool. Awesome. So please share kind of more about your journey, kind of like what was your what's your background like before you got into e-commerce, and what inspired you to get into e-commerce in the first place?
That's a good question. Well, my background is it's very different to business. I started off in music, so I did music for probably 9 years since I started I play guitar. Went to college to do that, and I suppose it does tie into business a bit because you're trying to market yourself to try, and that's how you make money.
How musicians making money? Like, is there a way for, like, let's say you're playing guitar, like how can you make money as a guitar player?
Well, the only couple of ways I managed to make money was gigs. So I remember the last gig I ever played, I actually made like £150, which was a pretty big deal at the time. I think I was 16. But to be honest, man, there's not much money in music. Like, it's really hard to make it. Like, you kind of have to rely on people to get you there. You have to know someone, or you have to get into a label or something, and then there's all the problems that come with that. So really, the only way you can truly gain a reliable income from music is like wedding bands and just things like that. You can make a decent living. But I think after doing it for enough, it kind of killed the passion for me. And when there's no money in it, I was kind of just like, nah, this isn't what I want to do. So I went to America to travel for a bit, and I have some family there. And one of the guys I met has his own film business, and just seeing the life he was living, where making 160,000 a year from this business and like living a comfortable life, I was like, man, like there's potential in this for me. Like, if I just have something to make that money, then I can live a lot more comfortable than as a starving musician. So that was a real turning point for me. And then I moved to Australia and tried to find a job as soon as I moved here. And
you moved from where? From what country?
England.
Oh, you moved from UK to Australia.
Yeah, so I was born in the States, moved when I was 3 to the UK, lived there my whole life. And then when I was 18, traveled for a bit and then came to Australia. So I've been here for 2 years. 2 years now. So I moved here when I was 19 and I'm now 21. So yeah, 2 years almost.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, tried to find a job and just struggled for the first couple of months. And I really wanted money just to kind of get myself the things I needed in this country for the first time. And so I went down, I think, well, maybe I like to say the classic route. I don't know what other people do, but I kind of was like, okay, how do I make money online? Search that up. And the classic stuff comes up. You've got drop shipping, you've got online surveys. So I kind of tried the online survey thing and realized after about 60 minutes, so this isn't going to work. I'm not going to get rich doing this. So then I got a job and kind of it went up my mind for probably 6 months. And then after working in a bar for 6 months, I'm like, man, I need to find something else to do long term for that, sustainable money. Like, I'm not going to live off of a bar job. So I did Etsy. That was my first business model. And actually, these posters that you see behind me was actually the business. So there's AI posters, and I'd sell a digital download code on Etsy.
Oh, interesting.
Ran pretty cheap ads, and I think I got one sale, but it was like not profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So I pretty much gave up after a week, which is another classic move. When you're starting out, you just try one shiny object, give up, try one shiny object, give up. And then I eventually came across an advert for BBA, and I was like, you know what, let's give this a shot, see what happens, and that's where we are. So
awesome, man. So what's like, okay, so with all of these so for like kind of, you tried all of these opportunities, right? And
Mm.
then you kind of decided to stick with BBA, was our model. Like, what's a difference for you? Like, why you decided to, like, because you were trying all of these different
Mm.
models. What was the difference in your mind to stick with this model in particular?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of potential in this business model. Like it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's any easier than other business models. I think it's important to pick one and then get good at that one model. I've learned that. But I think just the scalability of it, like drop shipping, obviously is only a method of fulfillment. It's no different from any other kind of business that's selling a product. So, providing that brand is enjoyed by the customer and they
Hmm.
want to keep buying from you, then the potential is unlimited. It's really how much you can provide value, how much you can sell, and like there's a lot of flexibility in it. If you want to make 100,000 a year, then that's your goal. You can probably do that. If you want to make 10 million, I'm sure that's possible too. Like even if the way I look at it is my first goal is just to replace my salary. Like if I can replace my salary with this, then that's already a huge move towards financial freedom in that respect.
Hmm.
So that's why I like this model because it feels like it's just full of potential. So that's why I've
What
stuck.
what is the average like salary in Australia?
Well, it's pretty good actually. In the UK, I was making £10 an hour at the supermarket when I was 16, and that was good. Like that was above minimum wage, but that's nothing in comparison here because that translates to about $20 an hour here. And
Hmm.
actually, what you get paid here is 30 because they have something called penalty rates. So when you work weekends or evenings or public holidays, you get extra money, right? So when you do kind of a 7-day work week across 5 shifts across that week, you end up making about 30 an hour, so £15 an hour. So it's a lot higher,
Hmm.
but things are a little bit more expensive. So it kind of levels out, but you do end up with a better lifestyle here than in England for sure.
Hmm.
So,
But better weather for sure.
and better weather, yeah, man. It works out better in every way. So, yeah.
Awesome. And so for you personally, like you just wanted to have like more kind of like are you looking for like location freedom, kind of like what are the things that you're looking for like when it comes to e-commerce and just running your business?
Definitely. I mean, location freedom is great, and I love traveling. Like I've done that, and I feel quite stuck right now because I've moved here and I'm trying to make a life for myself, and I haven't had that travel opportunity for a couple of years. So definitely that. But I am happy here. So really, the biggest drive for me is financial freedom. Like I'm a terrible employee. I'm a great employee in one respect that I work hard, but I'm a terrible employee because I hate working for other people. So I'm not the kind of person that will be like, let me work for your business for the next 10 years. I'm like, I want to work for myself. So the biggest motivator for me is like literally just replacing like a salary at the minimum
Mm.
level, just making that $1,000 a week. Not even, 700 a week would be enough to sustain myself. And anything
Hmm.
above that is just extra money that, is just goes a long way. So yeah, really, it's just for me, it's like not having to work if I don't want to, and therefore being able to kind of go and enjoy what life has to offer, I suppose.
Mm.
So yeah.
Interesting. And so, by the way, guys, please comment your questions. If you have any questions for Oli, please comment them so I can ask him and have some of the questions that you guys have answered from your side. So, when it comes to e-commerce, right? A lot of people say it's like saturated or there's no like space anymore, like, or kind of like, what would you say to those people?
I'll be honest, man. I have fallen into that trap too. So as I said at the start of the interview, I've had 4 businesses. This is my 4th one right now. First 3, like I would have agreed with that statement. Like it feels like nothing's working. Like maybe the market's screwed. Like everyone's just taking up all the sales and there's nothing left for me. But after this 4th one, like just trying it and just seeing what happens with everything I'd learned and making the sales, I'm like, honestly, there's potential for anyone because you know there's not one company selling, I don't know, bowls. There's like probably like 10,000 companies selling bowls, but like the reason why a customer will pick one over another is the difference in what they're offering or the value or even just like the right place to right time. If your advert hits someone that doesn't know they need that product and they decide to impulse buy it, they're going to just pick you because that's convenient. So I definitely think there's a lot of potential. And another thing is a lot of times with winning products, maybe they're not being sold to in a certain country. So you can even just take the country, and that can be your different angle. And then boom, you've got this whole market that's not even been exploited yet. So there's so much potential. And I think it's the opposite. You need to pick something that's already working and then just do it better. So that's what I think.
Mm.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to sell like product, like I mean, I've done this mistake myself. Like we would kind of like look for products that, oh, no one is selling this product. This is phenomenal. It's like, oh, there's no competition, and then
Yeah.
we start selling. It's like people are not buying. Oh, that's interesting. Like why they're not buying? Like because it's not validated, right? There's no product market fit, and so
Precisely.
you also had this kind of like mindset shift where like you just decided to go after products that have been validated and just sell those products more effectively, and that's how you get traction in e-commerce.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 No, I couldn't agree more. And it
Ye-
really depends, like, on, a lot of factors. Like, the second business I tried was, a makeup bag. It was like one of those travel ones.
Mhm.
Um, and I'd seen people selling it, and I had thought this has potential, but after launching it, I had 0 sales, and I'm like, "What's the problem?" And, I spoke to my mum and my sister, and they're like, "We can just buy this at the shop." Like, there's no there's nothing that I was doing differently, that, like, most people already had this product, first of all, and second of all, it's so easy to come by in any shop that I was like, I'm not offering the customer anything different, and that didn't work. So it really does depend on what you're selling, I suppose.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so like when you joined BBA, like were you like nervous or scared at all? Like and how did you overcome those feelings?
That's a good point. I think actually I've become more nervous as time's gone on, because the more money I make, the more is at stake, I suppose. Like, when you've
Uh-huh.
got nothing to lose at the start, you're not made any sales. It's like, it is what it is. We'll see how this goes. But when the success starts to come, it's like, wow, I need to make sure I maintain these sales and I stay profitable. And what if the ad set dies and I don't make any more money? Um, but I suppose the best way to deal with it is go, look, like, for as long as I can keep trying this and finding new products if this one doesn't work, or finding a new way to sell, or finding a new ad set, new audience, like, it's going to be okay. Like, you only fail when you quit. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and you will see like oftentimes like some people are selling products like successfully, and then some other people trying to sell the same product, but they're not putting the same amount of effort into selling those products, and obviously those people are not having success. And then
Yeah,
you just realize that maybe it's not even like the product that you're selling. The product has been validated, but how you sell it in the first place. And
absolutely.
that is also like a big mindset shift. I had this mindset shift myself, where we would go after product, but because we didn't allocate like enough effort like into the product, into the ads, into the website, the product wouldn't work. And what was the kind of so with a product that you finally had traction with, like what was the like, did you just model like what was working already for your competitors? Like how did you find the structure for the ads, like for the product pages? Like what worked for you?
So I kept it really simple. So what I've learned from the past mistakes is taking way too much time, first of all. So, like, the third one I had was supplements. I've been working on that for about 5 months before I launched, and then nothing worked for me. So that was a big mistake. So this one, it was all about speed. So I built a website in 24 hours. I've become pretty good at that now because I've done so many. So yeah, I literally whipped out this pretty good website in 24 hours, arguably better than the competitors. Like, they definitely had some good features on theirs, but, like, it's a little bit messy and maybe not following like the proper, page structure where you're trying to convert the customer. So I really focused on that. So I think I did that better. But primarily just speed, man. Like, I took an organic TikTok that was already working, used that as an ad just for testing purposes, and that did really well. So that kind of validated the product for me. And then sort of my mindset is, well, if that's going to work, then if we really put some resources into better creatives and etc., then this product can go far. So, my best piece of advice is probably just keep it simple and keep it fast, because I suppose if you kind of trim it all down and you can get that stuff done in 2-3 days and it doesn't work, then you can just go on to the next one and do the same thing until something works. Because I've wasted so much time on other products thinking this is the one, I'm going to make sure I've got all the branding done first and all the creatives made and all the stuff, and then you go to sell it and no one buys it because it's not the right product
Mm.
fit. So
And
yeah,
this is what we see from all of our best clients that are that are doing very well. Like we have this client in ESS, which is our kind of like more advanced program.
Yeah.
We had a client joining at he was doing like 1K a day was his business, and he joined like 2 months after. Like last 30 days he's done like $350,000 on average, like $10,000 per day. But he executes very fast, right? Like, so for example, let's say you get a feedback, like you get some action points from the team, and you execute it very fast. And I think that's a key, because as entrepreneurs, like there is like so many different things we can do, but we have to keep the main thing, right? And what's the most important. And the faster you build something, the faster you get it to the market, the faster you will see, okay, so this works or doesn't work. And then you also have some data that you can, okay, so maybe it doesn't work because of the ads, or maybe because it doesn't work because of the landing pages, or maybe because it works for some other reason. So it's kind of like you get that data, so you can do the next round even faster, by also like learning what worked or didn't work the first time. And this way you learn, and your overall, like your the learning curve becomes like very, very fast. And
Yeah.
I think that's the key. So you made a very good point. You made a very good point here in terms of like just executing fast. And we have this like inside of BBA Brand Builders Academy, our program, like we now kind of like structured this process where everyone who joins, like we want them to get live within like ideally like few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's not perfect, even if, like, but get it live, like get something to the market, get some data. Okay, we give you feedback on the data. Now you can improve. Now you can do things like a little bit better, 5% better, 10% better. But then imagine like in 6-12 months, like it's like you become like you become really good, because like you got so much data, you've done so many things, you've seen what's working, what doesn't work. And I think that's the key. So for
Yeah.
people watching, I think getting into e-commerce, like starting with e-commerce, like don't drag it like 2-3 months. Like I know some people like takes them like 4 months to launch a website. Like
Yeah.
no, like do it faster, execute, get it to the market, adjust based on the feedback, and just continue improving that until it hits.
And that's why Shrine theme is so useful. I've only invested in that theme in this fourth business. Like the last three, one of them I used like a really expensive Shopify theme, and the other two was just like gem pages or something. But honestly, Shrine allowed me to get something up and running in literally 24 hours, because it has everything there for you. You just kind of
Hmm.
replace it as needed. But also, when you get to one stage, one milestone, I feel like you learn on the next one so much faster how to get to that same point. So, like getting to one sale on this business, I realized like you can tell whether something's going to work within like $100 spend, Whereas the third business, I was so convinced the product was good based on my own emotional beliefs that I spent way more than I needed to on ads, going, okay, if I just run one more ad set, like one more creative, maybe it'll work this time. But actually, like what I learned from this one is I made the first sale within $60 to $100 of spend. And that to me was like, wow, okay. I didn't need to spend too much money to realize like that this has potential. And I'm sure that depends on the price of your product, like the CPA might change, but you don't have to spend masses to get that data straight away. So yeah.
For sure. So what kind of niche you chose for yourself for this, like for this product that you have traction with?
So I chose a niche which I think's actually pretty good, and I've learned this from the course. I think it was Jacobo that said something about it in one of the recordings or calls. But it's the health and wellness niche, and it's because when you're fixing someone's literal pain, it's so much easier to convert people than like your classic winning products, maybe the levitating plant that you see everywhere. Like that's a great product, but like no one needs that in their life to feel better. Like you're not actually fixing a pain. Whereas health and wellness, like if someone's like, oh, I really want to get rid of this, I don't know, knee pain or whatever
Hmm.
the pain might be, and you're selling a product that can get rid of that for them, they're like, let me just spend $50 to just see if this works, because it might be $50 and I have to spend again. Because if it works, I don't have to invest in anymore. Especially if they're spending, hundreds on medications or other
Oh
forms of
yeah.
treatment. So, like I was converted by one of them. It was the LED face mask, because I've struggled
Mm.
with acne before, and that can get really expensive with medication and light therapy. So I I bought one of those LED face masks, thinking, it's $100. Let me just throw the money at it and see if it works. So health and wellness, definitely a good niche to get into, I think.
For sure. Yeah, it's also our favorite niche. Like we like health, beauty. I mean, those are evergreen niches too. Like
Mm,
that's an important thing. I think for people to kind of realize that you don't want to be selling that like, okay, we only can sell these products in Q4, and then the rest of the year just like there's people are not really buying these products because they're only buying it as a gift. And so now like 9 months of the year you're just waiting for something to happen, instead of selling something continuously. And then throughout, like I look at e-commerce as a skill, right? Like, and let's say the more reps you have, the better you will become, because it all kind of like stacks up. So let's say you have 3 months to sell your product, or maybe certain occasions like Valentine's Day and stuff. You can generate some sales for sure, and you can make money with that, but you will not learn as much as if you were just like continuously getting better throughout the year. Let's say, like you said, pain relief, health, wellness. I mean, those niches are like evergreen. People always have pain, whether it's winter, whether it's summer, whether it's spring. Like if people have joint pains, or they have, like you said, knee pain, foot pain, back pain. I mean, those niches are kind of evergreen,
yeah,
but you have a lot of reps in the process, because throughout that time that you're selling throughout the year, every time you can launch some new ads, you can test new landing pages. Like there's so many different things that you can do and you can learn from. Then instead of like, if you were just selling products 3 months in a year, you don't get that many reps.
right.
And I think that's very important, because the more time you spend in e-commerce, the more you realize that it's kind of the skills and what you do and like what you learn, those feedback loops, they're adding up, and the
Yeah,
more you do it, the better you become at it. And I think that's a very like crucial thing to understand, that it's like if you become good, like your business becomes good. And
absolutely.
so, and also like as you personally evolve, you become a better entrepreneur. Like you learn faster, you implement faster, like you said, having that speed of implementation, becoming
Yeah,
like more data driven, looking at the data, identifying gaps, fixing those gaps. Like all of the big businesses operate like this, every single one of them. Like even Teslas, like Elon Musk makes a Tesla. They made the last Cybertruck. It didn't work. Like didn't work. Now
yeah,
they fix those issues. Now they make their next round better. And that's how you constantly improve. But there is no way that you can improve if you simply don't do it.
yeah. And I like what you said about like it being, your skill set, because you could hand me a $10 million business right now and tell me to go have fun with this winning product, but like I'm not gonna know how to run that business. And I think one thing I've learned is how important advertising is and marketing. It's probably the most important skill because you can have an amazing product if you don't know how to, get it across to the customer, like you have no chance. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
something I'm really trying to work on, is just how to advertise, because I feel like you can take anything that's even semi good, and if you know how to sell it, it's gonna make sales.
Oh
So
man, this is such an important thing for people to just get better at. Like with all of the technology, like I feel like when I was starting my e-commerce business first time, like it was 2016, right? So obviously it was like a lot easier than it is now in terms of
yeah,
wasn't that competitive. But then I just see this progression where no matter what you do, like no matter what skill you're doing, like you just have to kind of like operate on a higher level. And in order to operate like on a higher level to succeed, you just have to continuously become very good in sales and marketing. If there's like, I see so many websites that are like perfectly branded, beautiful colors, beautiful logo, and then you seeing those websites are not generating any sales or very low sales. And then you just realize at the same time, like the website that might not look as pretty, but they're very good at understanding the pain points of their audience, really good at like direct response marketing, understanding, the landing pages, the creatives. Those websites are crushing it. And then
yeah,
you're just like, okay, do I want to build like a pretty business that I can just like look at and enjoy, or do I want to build a business that actually makes money and that can set myself and my family for life? And I think that's an important skill set for people to
yeah.
learn.
Yeah, it's crazy how many of those businesses I've seen where it's like the worst website imaginable, but they're just turning so many sales because they're, top of funnel, whatever, is just doing such a good job. And I've been on the side where I've built an amazing website. Like the third business I ran was supplements, and I spent ages on the logo, and the website looked really, really good. But I made zero sales because I spent so long on like the aesthetic part of it and not enough time on the sales and the marketing side. So it ultimately failed. So I think it's
Yeah,
just so important to just like, get stuff out as quick as possible and advertise it really well, for sure.
for sure, my man. So when it comes to like, how do you advertise? Do you advertise your products on Facebook, or do you advertise them on TikTok?
That's a good question. I've learned a lot about those two platforms in the last week because I've only exclusively used Facebook ads for the last three businesses I've run. I've made sales on the first one, I made zero sales on the second one, and I made zero sales on the third one, all using Facebook, right? So that's quite a low spread. I used TikTok on the fourth one, and I've made like 16 sales. So one thing straight off the bat I realized that's different is TikTok's cheaper. I don't know whether that's because
Mm,
it's newer or whether because the traffic's like worse, or I don't know, but like the CPM was super low. I mean, it was like on the winning ad set like $2 Australian, so it's like between 1 and 2 USD. I had a cost per click of like 30 cents, and yeah, I made like a ton of sales in the first week. Whereas Facebook, I ran the same ad for the same product on Meta and like didn't get a single sale after like $70 ad spend, and the
mm,
CPM was like $12. Some of them were as high as 20. Like I don't know what it is about Meta, but it's so expensive. I don't know what you think about that, but
yeah,
that's my experience.
yeah. Facebook is like, from my experience. I mean, Facebook, you just have to really like understand the creative, right? So the kind of the barrier of entry, I think, for Facebook is a bit higher, like in terms of the levels of like creatives in levels of like landing pages. TikTok on
Yeah.
the other side is has like a lot of I mean, first, I mean, you can get a lot of organic traffic like with TikTok. There's talks about like shutting down TikTok and stuff like that
Yeah.
right now. But I think in order to learn creatives, I think TikTok is probably the best platform because first, it gives you like organic reach. Like if you post organic, I mean, we have Paul Freeman in our community. I don't know if you've joined any of his calls. He's doing like, I mean, the first like 6 months that he was doing like fully organic, no ads at all. He's done like I think $150,000 or so, like with his
No ad
product,
spend.
no ad
Wow.
spend at all. Yeah, and like great margins, obviously, because he didn't spend money on ads. And now he's also doing the TikTok Shop affiliate, so he's promoting other products as well. So because he learned the skills, how to promote the product, how to position the product, how to write the scripts that actually convert. And I think that that's such a crucial skill, like you mentioned, like sales and marketing. Sales and marketing is like 80% of success, right? There's
Yeah.
obviously all of these other moving parts, but like if you know how to position the product, if you know how to talk about the pain, if you know how to tell a good story, which you can learn like just by modeling something that's already working for other people. You can just learn and watch other people that are selling products successfully, so you can just replicate what's working. But that is such an important skill, and I think TikTok from that standpoint is probably the best platform to learn that skill and then to transition that skill to other
Mhm.
platforms like Facebook and I mean, Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that. Because the level of TikTok on the creative side is pretty good. Like, I mean, you have to really like grab the attention and stuff like that. So I think those are perfect like combination. The perfect business, the
Yeah.
way I envisioned is like the business that's present on all platforms. Obviously, you don't launch all the platforms like at the same time, but then let's say you start with TikTok, you get some good traction there, you introduce Facebook, obviously the formats, the landing pages, the ad, potential advertorials and stuff. So you have those two, and then you can also start adding like Google, you can start adding Amazon once your
Mm.
product has good traction. So now you build like a great ecosystem where no matter where people go, like maybe some people only buying stuff from Amazon, your product is there. Maybe some people like to buy from Facebook, they have it there. Some people on TikTok. So you're grabbing traffic from all of these different sources, and that's how the best businesses, in my experience, are built. Where over time they kind of like diversify their traffic sources.
Yeah, but you think starting with TikTok is the best for beginners, just based on the fact that it's easier and you get cheaper results?
I think I mean, if I had no money, like if I was starting brand new like today, I would definitely do TikTok. I would
Yeah.
definitely do TikTok. I would do TikTok organic for sure because there's
Mm.
no ad spend involved. Then if I was making sales, if I had some money, then I would invest in like and boosting those best performing posts with TikTok paid.
Yes.
That's how,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what you do, right?
Yeah, someone said like the best method and the cheapest and safest way to get into TikTok advertising is wait till something blows up organically and then just
Hmm.
use it as an ad. And that way you've got sales coming in from the organic side and then you can reinforce that with the paid advertising and the likelihood is that it will be cheaper because it's a successful creative. So definitely the other thing as well, I don't know if this affects the performance, but on TikTok you can run almost anonymously, right? Like you can create a brand identity without it connecting to a page. So no one can actually check what your organic following is. Whereas on Facebook, you have to have a page, and people
Hmm.
if they click on the page can see you're a new business, you've got no reviews. Do you think that affects like customer trust levels as well?
Um, yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. I mean, pages you can buy age pages. You can buy pages with followers, like for
yeah,
Facebook. You can rename them. So there's always ways around it.
yeah,
You know. Well, also another thing that I've realized from my experience is that if there is a problem, there's probably a solution, right? And so as long as you ask the right people, like, okay, do you have kind of like some solution for this? Okay, yeah, I know a guy who knows a guy.
yeah,
So it's so there's always ways around different obstacles, and like in any business, like it's kind of like, yeah, everything is around like relationships and being like in the right environment, because
hmm
like if you're in the right environment, you can find solutions to pretty much any problem that you have. And I think that's a key, and that's pretty much our objective was like Brand Builders Academy is to
yeah,
have this kind of environment where we can give you the resources, we can give you feedback, but also any contacts that can support you in that in achieving that objective. We provide. So I think both are great. If I was starting out, if I had no money or limited amount of capital, I would definitely go with TikTok.
yeah, yeah, big time. And I think I agree with what you surround yourself in and the context, and that's what's so good about BBA is that WhatsApp group chat that we're in is a gold mine. You know, if you have a question you need asking, you put it in there, you've got 10 responses that pop up with multiple solutions to the problem, and that's invaluable, man. Like, because if you imagine doing it on your own, like it'd be so hard. You don't know what to do with something. You just have to guess or figure it out for yourself. It saves you a lot of time just having that community to go to where you can just ask those questions. So
For sure, my man. So we
yeah.
have a question here from Mohammed. I think that maybe you can help with. How do you deal with bot traffic when advertising on TikTok? I've tested TikTok, ran $50 campaign, and I have Clarity installed on the website. I see the website is idle, sessions they don't move.
I actually was looking into this past few days because I was like, why is TikTok traffic so cheap? And people say it's because of bots. But my objection to that is, look, I've made sales using it. So whilst the bots might be a problem for some people, I suppose if your product is good enough and the creative's good enough and people want to buy it, like the bots probably won't get in the way. Um, Then again, like maybe on your end, you've been unlucky, but I've still made sales on TikTok ads, so it's not really affected that. But I've also heard about bots on Meta too. Like someone on a Reddit forum was saying if you run a certain placement on Facebook, you'll get more clicks from bots because of the way that I don't know the way it works with the Facebook platform. So I think both can be just as bad as each other, but honestly, man, like I've not really had any problems with TikTok bots. If you do, I don't know. I don't really have a solution to that, to be honest. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it averages out, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like even if you have like small fraction of the people that you drive to the website buy the product,
Mm,
and that ad spend that you have is covered by the sales that you generate, then probably there's percentage of people that would be like, or percentage of bots. I think Facebook is also crawling the websites because they want to identify if there's nothing sketchy about it. I think Yeah, that's like the kind of how they scan different websites, making sure there's nothing kind of like prohibited or people are not selling, some some sketchy products.
Yeah. I think ad spy tools as well probably send bots to scrape the sites as well, just to
Oh yeah,
collect.
that's a good point actually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to be honest, actually to add on to that question, my conversion rate on the site has been about 0.5%, which is the biggest problem that the business is facing. And it's really hard because you're given all of the data, but it's really hard to figure out what's causing that problem.
Hmm.
And to be honest, now that you've mentioned it, it could be that like there's a lot of low quality traffic coming to the website, and therefore the visitors go up and the sales are down here, so the conversion rate ends up being a lot lower. That could be the
Hmm.
reason, but could also be because of advertising or product price. Who knows? Yeah,
On Facebook, I mean, we've noticed it's the quality of traffic on Facebook is certainly higher, 100%.
right.
It's just the kind of the quality of advertorials, so landing pages also, and the creatives themselves would have to be like pretty decent.
Yeah,
And if you're selling to older demographics, in my experience, like you'd have to sell with kind of like more like longer format, like you have to educate customers more about the product and about the problem they're facing. So just the formats would be like slightly different, but the conversion rates at the same time are higher because I think Facebook has been around for longer than TikTok, and it has more data accumulated. Okay, who's more likely to buy? Their algorithm from the conversion standpoint, I think it's just like more efficient. Obviously more competition as well, so it's kind of like pros and
yeah,
cons to every platform.
yeah. That's probably why the CPMS are higher because there's so much more competition. But also, I've also noticed that the creative style is different. Like TikTok is a lot quicker. Like it's 10 to
Yeah.
15-second videos. Buy this product, people impulse buy. Whereas a lot of Facebook ads that are doing well that have been running for a while seem to be like you said, that 2 minute long content where it's like, you know, doesn't look the best, but it's really informative. So
Hmm.
maybe that's kind of yeah. Can you rip a TikTok and use it on Meta? I don't know if that would work.
um you can try as a variety of what we like to do. I mean, overall, like on Facebook likes variety. Like if you supply it with a lot of variety, like if you have like even image ads, if you have carousels, if you have obviously these like longer formats like video ads, if you have UGC from your customers, then all combined it would produce like phenomenal results. That's what we are doing right now in our business. Like we have probably like 50 different variations of the ads just for the retargeting. Like
Wow.
we're just hammering people with like different variations of the content. And I think that's what Facebook wants. Facebook wants advertisers to innovate, wants to have like different formats, because let's say someone is more likely to click on an image, someone is more likely to click and watch 2 minute 3 minute 5 minute like VSL, someone is more likely to see the carousel and click from there. And so I think variety on Facebook, it just has to be like higher. And that's probably one of the barriers of entry for people to kind of like start building all of that collateral. But there's at the same time there's like different tools that can have can help with that process. Like for example, we do AI voiceovers. We use 11 Labs, does pretty
Wow,
good
nice.
like voiceovers for, let's say you have your script, and then the AI pretty much is reading that script, and the voices are pretty realistic.
Yeah,
as,
yeah.
as
I've
long
used
as
it.
you
Really good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I think we live in an amazing time where all of these tools can help us, with script writing, with with voiceovers, with all of those things.
For sure. Yeah.
We had a question here. So Professor Sania on YouTube. Okay, so I don't know if you'd be able to help with this one. Which payment gateway is best? My LTD register in United Kingdom. Can you tell me business PayPal? Maybe what business PayPal gateway is the best? Um, so in terms of payment
Payment
processing,
gateways
what do you use?
generally, or
Yeah, like what payment processors are you utilizing right now?
so I've actually been there with that too. So when I was selling the supplements, I had problems with the Shopify payment
Hmm.
gateway because it doesn't like you selling medical products or supplements, basically. So I tried so many different like high risk payment gateways and stuff. Problem with them is really expensive costs. Like I think you pay a subscription fee and then they take more of the cut than maybe Shopify would. So my answer to that would be Shopify is the best by far. Like I seem to always have. It's so easy to just set up with that because it gives you all of the main payment methods, and it takes like 5 minutes to set up. I think in the end, I think I ended up just saying my business was something else that it wasn't, and that it let me use it. Um, just because the high risk payment gateways are so hard, and like there's so many like regulations and weird rules
Mhm.
you've got to follow, and they might hold your money and all this stuff. So honestly, I've had no problems using Shopify. I just use the default one that they offer, unless there's a reason that you can't, in which case I would just try and find the best possible payment gateway that offers the best rates. Um, I also know PayPal. I hear a lot of stories about people saying PayPal has problems where they hold your money and stuff. But
Mhm.
never ever received payments through PayPal, so I wouldn't know.
Mhm. Awesome, I mean, so when it comes to like e-commerce, like in general, like what is the thought process now, like after everything that you've learned? So you go after the products that have been validated, and how do you find ways, like different ways to advertise that product? Or you just modeling kind of, let's say you have a competitor that's doing well and you just modeling what they have?
So so I started off by just taking something that was already working and just using it to see if I could produce the same results, which I did. And then my method that I would move into from there is like it's so hard, and this is honestly one of the things I'm trying to work on, but it's creating your own content.
Hmm.
Um, that can be done obviously with recording yourself or recording the product. It can also be done by like splicing up organic TikToks that already exist. But I think the best way to test is, or to test new creatives, is grab 4 or 5 hooks that are all really well performing, or you think will be well performing. Take those 5-second hooks and then just have one kind of meat and potatoes part of your video that you keep on all of them, and you just produce that one advert with 5 hooks, create 5 ad sets with those, and then kind
Hmm.
of replicate as many times as you want. So maybe you grab another whole different ad with 5 hooks and another whole different ad, keep going like that, and then just keep putting money into the ones that work. But like that's probably the hardest part, is like trying to get into that space of like, okay, what am I trying to create here? What does the customer want to see, and what's going to drive
Mm.
sales? It's really hard, and that's why I think the easiest part is taking what's already working, but then
Mhm.
this, you can't rely on that for the whole business. Like you've got to get to a point where you do create more and new, and you, like you said, you innovate with the advertising strategies. But it's quite difficult, at least for me. Like that's not something I'm particularly good at, so it's hard. But I think that's the only way to go about it.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Awesome. And so, like you mentioned on a personal level, since you got into like you had this like traction with your business, got into BBA. Like on what levels do you think you personally have changed as a person, right? Kind of like in terms of your mindset, in terms of your beliefs, like what has changed for you, like in the last like few months?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I've definitely become more humbled,
Hmm.
but in the way that like I've realized how much or the importance of like A, following advice, and B, learning. Um for example, when I first started, I was like, let me do my own version of this. So the best example I have is the supplement business, right? That, like I said, 5-6 months of design, development, research, and it was good, but I didn't do exactly what the course said to do. Like I was like, because it was slightly different. I wasn't just taking like an AliExpress product. I was, you know, designing my own products. I probably had like over 16 custom packaged products I designed
Oh,
myself. That
wow.
took a lot of time. But again, what humbled me was like I needed to just follow the advice, pick one product, and get good at doing that first thing, instead of jumping in with like 16, 17 products and a big business that I hadn't even validated yet. So that
Hmm.
was a massive learning point for me because I'd wasted all that time. And so when it eventually failed, and I'm like, I just don't want to keep spending money on ads that aren't working, I sort of had to take a week to kind of take a break and reflect. And I went, look, like if I just follow the course as it tells me to do, and use the support calls where I need to, and use every resource available to me, and be humble with it, and go, I don't know what I'm doing. let the course kind of take the reins and just follow what you need to do. And that's what I've done, and now I've actually seen results. So that's my biggest learning point as a person, is definitely like realizing how important it is to just you know stay humble and realize you don't know everything. Just do as you're told, and then when you've finally learned, maybe you can start to kind of deviate from there. But yeah,
Such
pretty
a good
important.
point. And also another like good point is like you said, like you took like a week off, right? Just reflecting on what's been happening. I think that's important. At times, like let's say, everyone starts, like let's say you're getting into business, right? Like something new,
Yeah,
and let's say you're like totally fresh to it, and let's say obviously you're trying, and it doesn't work at the beginning, and and it doesn't work, and you might also like kind of like doing certain things emotionally, right? Because like you're not like disattaching from it, you're not like reflecting on what's been happening. And I have done that mistake myself. it's,
yeah,
it's kind of just like you're so in the trenches that you just like kind of like keep doing the same thing, right, over and over again, and expecting something different to happen.
yeah.
And I think taking that time off, just reflecting, maybe going somewhere in like in nature, like thinking like through like in a more like relaxed environment, that will give you like maybe certain gaps in what you do, and maybe your approach wasn't the best to start with, so now you can start adjusting that approach, based on your own like reflections.
Yeah, and it feels good when you go, oh, you know what? This time I'm going to do this, and I think it's going to work out for the better. And then when it does finally work out for the better, like each time you try from there, it's a little bit better and better. And it's like there's that graph where when you start something new, you think you know way more than you do. And then as you realize that you don't know things, your confidence levels kind of go down. And there's that pit at the bottom where you're like, I know nothing, and this isn't going to work. And then you get through that, and then finally the results start to improve, and then you're like, okay, I actually do know what I'm doing now. And I feel like I've been in that pit where I'm like, this whole time I thought I knew what I was doing, and I actually don't. Let me just like take it from here as a very humble individual, and then finally you start to actually learn and know what you're doing. But you have to almost go through that first bit of like, nah, this is easy. I know what I'm doing. I got this, and then you see no results. So
Yeah, I think that's how we learn. Like humans learn through pain.
yeah,
And yeah, if we continuously doing something and it doesn't work, then maybe that approach needs some adjustment. But yeah, it's hard to teach this too, right? Like you
mm,
said, you've been through that pain and kind of like made some readjustments based on the pain. I've learned this way myself too. um I guess this is one of one of the prejudice, that we have, one of the, how they call this, biases, right? Like that
yeah,
we just have to go through that experience in order to adapt and become better.
absolutely. It's part of the process.
For sure, man. So in terms of like, so everything that you're doing right now, right, do you think that you're getting traction with your store? So do you feel this is something that you could probably have like figured out on your own?
Uh, in hindsight, absolutely not. I think at the start, like before I joined the course, I was like, no, I can just teach myself. And the amount of times you'll see on online forums or stuff, people going, don't ever buy a course. Everything you need is online. Absolutely, they're not wrong. You can find everything online. But is it going to be in chronological order? Is it going to be like exactly what you need to know, trim down all the fat kind of thing, like is it going to be a 20-minute course that you paid for that is going to help you, or is it going to be like you looking through YouTube for 4 or 5 hours and trying to condense what you've just learned down to 20 minutes of knowledge, right? So I think I would always say go for the course because it's just so much more straightforward and it saves you so much time. And honestly, I probably would have quit by now had I just tried to go it alone. Because after the
Mm,
three businesses, I'd be like, clearly this model of business doesn't work. I'm going to try the next shiny object. But when you're on the course and you're seeing the success of the people around you, and you've got that WhatsApp chat with all the help and the coaches, like you really go, this is going to work. It's just up to me and my ability to learn. So
mm.
yeah,
And it's fascinating, yeah, like you said, people saying that usually on Reddit, and something they're hiding their face, right? It's like they have this like
Yeah,
weird names for the most part, and
yeah,
it's accurate. I mean, I learn a lot. Like I personally like learn a lot from like free materials, like YouTube. Like I mean, you go on YouTube, you pretty much can find like any tutorial on any topic. But I mean, in order to find the one that actually will help you, I mean, you'd have to go through like probably like dozens or hundreds of them, and then you have to connect the dots, right? Then you have to
yeah,
connect the dots, then you have to actually apply something, and then you have to kind of like somehow make adjustments. And then like how to make adjustments, right? If you don't have like any external help. I like this example where like you're learning to drive a car, right? And so imagine if everyone on the road, right, is currently driving a car, like you go in at a light, like you go outside. Imagine if every one of those people would learn a car from YouTube tutorials, because it's free. Why pay for driving school? Like there's no point of paying for driving school. It's like, I don't know, a few $100 or a few $1,000. I don't know. Yeah, just figure it out. Like just watch YouTube tutorial. Just like
It was like the same thing with university. It'd be like, so don't go to doctor school and learn how to do surgery. Just you watch
yeah.
YouTube tutorial.
Why pay for that? And yeah, people are so fascinating. And it's there's time and place for those. Like I like to watch interviews of successful entrepreneurs, like podcasts and stuff like that, because like, but then like let's say you watch and that's also comes over time, like where let's say you're watching like 1 hour interview, and then you might have like one nugget from that that's actually applicable to your particular situation,
Yeah, yeah,
right? So there is the amount of time that you would have to like spend in order to condense all of that information, in order to find actually what's valuable and what's applicable, is quite high. Instead, what I'm doing is and that has been like the best like return for me, like personally, obviously like masterminds,
yeah,
they're not cheap, like 30, 50, $100,000 a year masterminds, but I have access to a particular person that I can ask a specific question about my specific problem, and I can get the exact solution from one conversation, instead of like, yeah, I'll probably figure it out. Yeah, I'm not dumb, right? And
yeah,
so I think there's a big mindset shift that, and maybe it comes over time. Maybe it's not kind of obvious for everyone. People prefer to spend time for like, I don't know, clothing and cars and kind of like certain things that kind of like make them look good or inflate their ego, instead of like, how do I get from this point to this point in the fastest way possible, where I can
yeah.
just become smarter in the process, and I can have the skill set that will serve me for the rest of my life. And I can go there by myself. I can try to do that, and probably I'll have some success. But also I can shortcut that learning path like 10 times if if I just learn from someone who's actually done it. And so it is very fascinating for me. And when I was first like investing in my own like courses, masterminds, programs, I also had similar mindsets. So I know exactly where people are coming from. But just reflecting on my journey, and the biggest like breakthroughs that I had, they always been like from people that already where I am, already where I want to be, right? And just asking those people, okay, how do I fix this, and this, right? Like, and here's exactly the problem that I'm facing. How do I fix this problem so that I can shortcut that learning curve? It costs money, or obviously you pay with money, right? But you can also pay with your time, right? And there's only so much
Exactly.
time you
Yep.
have.
And when
And
it took them 10 years to learn, it's taken you 2, because they've been able to go, I made all these mistakes, don't make the same ones. And also, people pay, I don't know how much college is, maybe 40,
oh,
50,000, right? And you're not even guaranteed a job when you do that. You have a strong degree, and maybe you will get into a salary and it's going to be good for you, but that's actually a huge risk. Whereas you do something like BBA, 5,000, whatever, to get in, and you have a skill set that can take you anywhere. There's no cap to the amount of money you can make, right? Like if you get really good at e-commerce, the sky's the limit. So that, to me, the value that you get from the money you've spent is a lot higher than a college degree.
yeah, my man. And I'm excited, to see I mean, you started on this journey like very young, because I started my business when I was 26, like first, like literally
Wow.
fresh, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you're like, you're starting very young, you're learning technology, you learn what's working. Like imagine where you'd be like in 5 years from now. Like it's just fascinating, if you stay on this journey, like constantly developing, constantly learning, becoming more open-minded. It is fascinating. By the age of 30, I mean, you can just set yourself for life. And I think
Exactly. Yeah.
that's a reflection kind of also for people, to just reflect where they are, like in their life. And sometimes like you work a job, like you said. I mean, there's some jobs that are like well paid, but like let's say the typical path, like you mentioned, like college. Like I know, so I mean, on my team we have my partner Mark. Like he's been to the university, like in San Diego, like pretty good like university, and he was studying marketing there. And that university is $70,000 a year. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And
So you could
so
rack up a serious bill.
imagine 4 or 5 years of that university, you come out with a very nice piece of paper, which is your
Yeah.
marketing degree. Like and like, and what's happening? I mean, like, oh, I mean, I learned like about billboards and like radio advertising and fucking TV ads, and it's TikTok and it's YouTube and it's creative and it's
Yep.
content and it's like totally different world. And kind of even, obviously they're trying to catch up. They're trying to introduce these like subjects and stuff like an AI, but it's like, do you need like 5 years? If you were doing your business for 5 years, like, and you like really practicing and learning every day, like from the right people, like, I mean, imagine the kind of impact that you can have. Like, I mean, the kind of lifestyle. I mean, it's just fascinating to me that a lot of people don't connect these dots, right? And because like the total path has been reinforced. Obviously, it's kind of like that. You go to the school, you get a degree, you get a job, then you buy a house, and then you work for 40, 50 years, and then you retire. And then maybe you have a few years like where you can travel, you can actually enjoy, and then you die. And that's
Yeah.
like that's that's a typical path.
And you
And
invest, 2% of your money every year, and finally you're 70 and you've got 1,000,000, but you're too late. You're gonna die in 5 years. So,
yeah. Oh, or yeah, it is fascinating. And
yeah.
I think, yeah, my goal with these conversations with you guys is to just kind of like have people reflect on the journey where they are, and if they continue to do the same thing that they've been doing, it may be not leading to the outcomes that they want, and in the United States, I don't know how it is like in Australia, but it's like, yeah, hundreds of thousands of dollars for the education. Typical, student loan is like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you come out of the university, obviously, as you said, doctors, there's certain professions that like you definitely need that. Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
definitely need a lot of those reps and a lot of that education. But certain things, you want to be entrepreneur, everything is on everything is on the internet, and you have to move fast too, because the technology is changing, how products being sold, like the whole like everything is moving so fast. There is no way that universities are even like catching up with that whole evolution of things and the world as it moves so fast.
Well, yeah, like TikTok ads alone are like, what, 2 years old?
Yeah,
Imagine you start a marketing degree 2 years ago. By the time you come out and you're like, right, I know how Facebook ads work. It's like, well, now TikTok's the new thing, so you don't have the skill set. Um,
for
so
sure.
yeah.
And I'm very excited about like seeing guys like you at such a young age and taking this leap and just committing to it. Like it just it's just so fulfilling for me. Like I like to see you guys succeed. I like to see that you start so young, so that you have so much time to figure things out, and accumulate that experience. By the age of like 30, I'm like, gee, I mean, you you can be set for life by the age of
Maybe
30.
set, man. Yeah. Tell you what, it's scary though, and sometimes it's hard because you got people that I'm 21, so you got people that are coming out of university and they're getting jobs, and maybe those jobs are paying a decent wage. Maybe they're
Yeah,
making 60,000, 70,000 a year, and then they're getting a nice car, and maybe they've
yeah,
started to get a deposit for a house, and then you're there like still trying to make something work online, and you haven't got that reliable income. You're still working at the bar or whatever. I don't know if anyone can relate to this, and it's hard to see. And sometimes you go, would I have been better just like getting a secure salary for a decent amount of money and just being happy? But then you remind yourself like, no, you're right. You're getting ahead of the game. By the time you're 30, you'll be making loads, and so it's nice to kind of remind yourself of that sometimes. But it can be hard. So
Oh yeah, well,
stay
I've been
positive.
through I've been through the same of it. I know exactly how it feels because I've been through exactly the same experiences. With my friends. Like I remember, like some of my friends were like driving trucks in the United States. And truck drivers, they're making like $100,000, 150. I mean,
Oh,
if they're working like a lot,
yeah.
which is pretty decent. Now it's gotten worse. Now it's also all of the kind of I don't know. At some point they'll introduce the trucks that can drive themselves. So it's like I mean
Yeah.
that whole kind of and I was like I remember like I was totally broke and I tried to figure out like the business side and I see all these guys like buying BMWs and like Mercedes like they drive that car like once a week because they're always like on the road like and
Yeah. In the truck.
but like kind of it was painful, man. I totally understand why people choose this path, like because not everyone can kind of even the social pressure, especially the circle that you are in, like is kind of everyone is doing that thing and you're like kind of they're looking at you and you kind of
Yeah.
also it's but it's like, okay, do you want to enjoy like not like BMW today, or do you want to put the work in, invest in yourself, and then in 2-3 years you can buy any fucking BMW you want, right? So it's kind of like thinking a little bit more long term, and yeah, that's a goal for me. Like with these calls, if we can get at least some people to just kind of reflect on their journey and like what is possible for them, like with everything that's happening right now, like sitting like you're in Australia. Where are you selling your product, in Australia or like in the United States?
So I started off by selling Australia, Canada, USA, and UK just as a test.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the USA made absolutely no sales, no traction there. UK was good. I made a couple of sales, but it wasn't particularly profitable. Um, Funnily enough, Canada ended up being the most profitable country by far,
Wow.
and Australia was second to that. So both are really good. I think I've actually made a similar amount of sales in both countries, but Canada was more profitable. Like one of the ad sets, I had a CPA of $8 one day
Wow.
in Canada, which is really good. Um, so yeah,
So I just like reflecting on that too, right? Because we just take it for granted. You're in Australia, like half across the world, like somewhere in Canada. The person opens the phone, buys the product, and gives you money. Like how?
yeah,
Like yeah, it's kind of like we take it for granted, right? Because it's normal. It's like take 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you had
true.
to literally fucking travel to like to Canada, knock the door, or somehow talk to that person or give them phone call. It's like you know what I mean? It's like, and you're making videos on your phone. Like we are so blessed. We're so blessed to live in
Yeah,
this time, man. Like 100 years ago, social classes, if you're poor you probably will die poor, right? Now you can go from poor to rich like in a few years. Like it is just like incredible times and incredible blessing. I think it's just important to remind ourselves of this because it's kind of, yeah, it's normal. Like yeah, it's like you open like WhatsApp, you give someone a call like on the other side of the world, you connect with them in 3 seconds. Yeah, like before you had to like dial the phone. I remember back in my country in Ukraine, like we had these like we didn't even have phone at home, so you had to go to this special place where they had the phones, and you have to get in line to give someone a call. you know, and now, and now a person like on the other side of the world just gives you money, like without even seeing your face, without even knowing who
yeah.
you are.
No interaction whatsoever. They've seen just a nameless ad, and they bought from you, and it never gets old, man. Like I remember the first sale I ever made. I was like over the moon. I was working and my phone buzzed and it said like Shopify, you just made a sale. And I like ran to the other bar to like tell my friend all about it. I was like, dude, I just made a sale. He's like, cool, man. I'm like, you don't understand how big of a deal this is.
Free drinks for everyone.
Free
Everyone
already
is
living out. But it never gets old. Like every time, something it pops up saying you've made a sale, it's like, wow. Like I just sold to someone. Like I woke up one morning with a customer bought 4 products. So I made $240 in one sale overnight. So I was sleeping and I woke up to that. And that was the best feeling I've had on this journey. I've like just like rolling out of bed, wiping my eyes, like look at my phone. It's like $240 right there. I'm like, no way.
Oh
It's such
man,
a good feeling.
Ollie, my man. So one last question, and then we'll wrap up. I know it's late for you. So knowing what you know now, like if you could just go back in time and tell yourself one thing about starting your own business, what would it be?
Ooh, I would say back to the speed point. I would basically tell myself to spend a couple of days creating the biggest product research Excel spreadsheet that I could, and then trying a business 3 or 4 days at a time, seeing if it gets traction, and if it doesn't, moving straight on. Because if I had known that one thing back in July when I joined this course, I would have had, I can't do the maths, 5, 10 months to try as many businesses as possible until I got the one that worked. And instead of wasting all that time, trying out things before without testing it first, like designing
Mm,
logos, designing labels, designing websites, and then not actually having a product market fit. I would have just said, test this 4 days, see if it works. If it doesn't, move on. That would have been my advice.
awesome, my man. Cool. My man, I wish you all the best on your journey. Next time, I want to connect with you once you're doing 100K per month. We'll have
Absolutely.
another call. So you'll reflect on your journey again, on all of the new learnings. And thank you so much for joining me. I know it's late time for you. Thank you for accommodating this, and I wish you all the best on your journey. I hope we helped some people here, with some reflections, some mindset shifts, and some tactical advice as well. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you everyone for joining in.
Thanks for having me, man.